Hello everyone. For anyone who does not know, I'm Reverend Nathan Joss-Pothen, and it is a pleasure to be with you this evening. The pleasure is all the greater since last year we had to make sudden changes to this service when our area was abruptly put into Tier 4, which you might just about remember with a shudder. That was a bitter experience, and of course there is a depressing sense of déjà vu, although I do at least get to share this space with you in front of me and with those of you watching online. It is indeed wonderful to celebrate Christmas with these carols by candlelight. And of course, part of the joy of this service is the fact that it is so familiar. The atmospheric beauty of the candles shining forth on a dark evening. The carols we know and love. How good it is to sing them together again this year. The sense, particularly on this spot, that generation after generation of people have gathered to worship and celebrate, caught up in the joy of this season. And of course, the readings that we know, or maybe half remember, bring us the story of Jesus' birth, a story of a very unexpected baby, of a young couple in need of hospitality, of angels and shepherds, of wise men and King Herod. A story of good news, of great joy, resounding from the heavens. A story that has captured imaginations ever since rumours of a newborn baby first swept through the little town of Bethlehem 2,000 years ago. It brings us all such comfort and joy to be immersed in the story once again. It tugs at our memory and hopefully warms our heart. And how we need this familiarity right now. After all we've been through, it is such a relief to follow the familiar story together once again. We have all been through such confusing, frightening, uncertain times. We have known pain and loss, restriction and disappointment. Even as we have received the jubilation of vaccines being developed and life sort of returning to normal, the memories of pain remain. To put it bluntly, we have all been through an awful lot in the past 12 months, not to mention all the months that came before. And the fear in me, and quite possibly in you too, is that all of this is still unresolved, incomplete, still threatening over the horizon. One of the things that has taken a huge toll on me through the pandemic is not knowing whether any of my plans will come to pass, whether I will see the loved ones that I intend to, whether I can relax and move on and consider the pandemic in the rear view mirror. And that feeling is certainly with me right now, with a new variant spreading and all sorts of menacing mysteries and rumours about the days ahead. So my heart rejoices when I can slip into these routines of Christmas again, even if they are a lot of work. I can feel the wonder and beauty of this story, of a newborn king in a feeding trough. A king whose arrival means that God's favour and blessing is for anyone and everyone. For shepherds, for kings, for you, for me. Good news of great joy indeed. But the thing is, just because we might seek solace in the familiar story, just because it really is heartwarming, after all, who does not like a newborn baby, doesn't mean that this story has nothing to say to us when we are afraid or when we are uncertain of the future. The story of Christmas is not an escape from the real world, but rushes headlong into it. The Christmas story is full of fear and anxiety. It's all about real people needing good news in the real world. Take the couple at the heart of the story, Mary and Joseph. Both faced a very uncertain future with their call to be parents. Joseph had to make his choice to be a part of that family, to stand alongside Mary, even if he had struggled at first to believe that she had not broken his trust. He must have been angry and bewildered. Even after his own visit from the angel, we can imagine him wondering how to stand by that choice, how to be a husband and a father in the most unexpected circumstances. And of course, Mary faced an even more uncertain future. God's presence in her unmarried baby bump was a potential source of great shame and scandal. And what would her future be as a young woman whose womb was God's way of coming into the world? Even after Jesus was born, there was a lot to be afraid of. The family are threatened by the violence of King Herod, and they have to flee to a foreign land. But even after they returned to their ordinary lives in the town of Nazareth, Mary and Joseph may well have wondered what was going to happen next. What exactly did all these strange surprises mean? And how exactly do you go about being mum and dad to the Messiah? In all their joy, there was fear. Or perhaps we might think of the shepherds. We can imagine them working long, unsociable hours through the night, huddling against the cold, their watchful eyes slowly adjusting to the deepening dark, determined that each and every one of their sheep in their care would make it safe to morning. Another ordinary night of hard work and patience as they wait for light to break over the horizon. A tough life of sometimes great danger, but nonetheless a familiar routine. And then the unexpected happens, a sudden arrival of light and song, blazing with glory and joy. One angel, and then a whole host of them, all delighting in the good news of great joy, that the baby who has been born is the Messiah, that all God's promises are being kept. Yet, of course, the shepherds do not immediately join the celebration. Their first reaction is to be terrified. We can picture them, eyes dazzled by blinding light, thoughts overwhelmed by the sight of an angel in front of them, hearts pounding as they realise they're hearing a message from God. And to these panicked shepherds, uncertain of what the future brings, the angel declares, "Do not be afraid. I bring you good news that will bring you great joy to all people." Their ordinary night of fears and worries is illuminated by this good news, this message of a baby whose arrival means God has a human face. In all their fear, there was joy. And this same pattern, these same threads of fear and anxiety are woven throughout the tapestry of the Christmas story. There is massive jubilation, the resounding glory of heavens joined together with the hope and expectation of the earth. But there is also plenty about the Christmas story which is not merry. Huge amounts of uncertainty among all the excitement. The wise men set out on their journey not fully knowing who they are looking for, and in all their wisdom making the mistake of consulting King Herod. And of course this leads to the darkest episode of the whole Christmas story, as Herod terrorises families in an effort to kill this newborn king. His own uncertainty about the future leads him to act as a violent, desperate tyrant. So, we can indeed take great comfort from the story we know and the songs that we sing, the images of a family gathered safely out of the cold, surrounded by shepherds, animals, angels and starlight, of a newborn baby fresh into the world with all the promises of his life ahead of him, a child surrounded by love and wonder, greeted with excitement and delight. And that is truly comforting. It is an image that brings a smile to the face. But it is a comforting story that takes place in the real world. It's all about real people with real hopes and real fears. All of the people we've heard about this evening, Mary, Joseph, shepherds, wise men, each and every one of them had their anxieties. Each of them was looking for good news because the world they lived in needed peace and joy and grace, just as much as the world we live in now. They knew they needed this message, this joining together of earth and heaven, because otherwise they too could be overwhelmed by their fears. And so, this Christmas, whatever you are feeling, you are welcome to be part of the Christmas story. You can certainly be joyous and hopeful and merry, and all power to you. I hope that the familiar story stirs the light in you once again. But you can also be afraid, unsure, sad. The Christmas story is indeed a story of peace and goodwill, but it also contains darkness and fear. That's the whole reason the birth of Jesus is good news of great joy, because we need good news. However you feel this Christmas, whatever you do or do not do, I pray that you will feel God's closeness to you. I hope that you will be able to respond once again to the wonder of this season. And I want you to know that whatever mix of emotions you bring to Christmas this year, you are welcome. God is welcoming and is with each and every one of us, now and into the days ahead, whatever they may bring. Peace and goodwill have come from heaven, and they can never be taken away. Merry Christmas.